Welcome back to eSIMstudios. This is the Spigen Silicone Fit MagFit case designed for the S25 Ultra. It is wireless charging standard 2.0 certified. There is a MagSafe magnet built into this sapphire blue case. Now, if you like what you see, go check out the description box down below. I have a link for this specific case. They also have a natural titanium color and a black color as well, if this looks appealing to you. Now, as we get into this case, I also have a couple of Samsung cases as well. Got a couple of Samsung silicone cases here that we are actually going to compare the two. Got it in the mint color, got it in the blue color. It's a comparable color to this as well, and we'll see just how well the Spigen case compares to the Samsung case, because I know you're probably wondering, like me, I like silicone, but which one should I get? Well, hopefully we'll help you figure that out here. So let me take this out so we can examine this a little closer, right? One thing you do have to worry about silicone cases is the cloth on the inside coming out. Now, if you're going to use this for an extended period of time, meaning like the life of your device, that's something you might want to keep in consideration when looking for a silicone case. Typically, the cheaper brands are the cloth on the interior is gonna peel up, meaning the glue that they use to make the interior stick to the inside of the case. It's pretty interesting because on some silicone cases, what they'll do is they'll put a hard polycarbonate shell on the inside, and then what they will do is put a silicone kind of material on the outside of this, right? And this is no different. It's the same thing. However, this is not as stiff as this one, right? And we'll compare them here shortly, but this is like you can't even bend it, the Samsung case. This, it seems like it's a little more flexible. Cutouts look good. Check this out. You have a removed material where your fingertip can go to remove that S pin. That's nice. You have a nice big cutout for the power and your speaker down below. And then up top, you have the cutout for your microphone. So let's go ahead and put that on. Can't miss the lanyard cutouts just on the right side. Nothing on the left side, just on the right. So let's go ahead and slap it in there. We'll see what it looks like, and then we will compare it with the Samsung cases. Now, as I mentioned, goes on nice and easy. Look at that. I barely put it on, and it wanted to fit right on the phone. So looks pretty nice, feels really nice. Depending on what color S25 Ultra you have, as I mentioned earlier, they do have a natural titanium color, which is more of a tan and or sand color, and then you have the black, which would look good with the all black S25 Ultra. But I thought this baby blue, sky blue, would look good with the white phone. It's a really good color match. Check out those cutouts up top. One thing with Spigen, with these brand name cases, you know the cutouts are going to be precise. Rarely do they mess anything up when it comes to that, so you're not going to have to worry about potential mics that are going to be halfway covered or a charging port that makes it hard to plug in. You're not going to have to worry about that with this case. And then, as I mentioned earlier, look at that cutout right there. Perfect for your fingertip. Easy access to the S Pen. Now, one thing you're going to have to worry about is, what if, let's say you just accidentally drop your phone and it falls on this corner? That's going to be a problem. So if that were the case, that's one downside to this, is I think that could be an issue, meaning you could damage and or nick up that part of your phone. Check this out. See how the S Pen, it's fully integrated into the device. It's pushed in there, right? And look, it's almost flush. This part on the right, there's the front, there's the back. This part on the right sits lower than this part on the left. Can y'all see that? Now, I think they do that just because fingertip dimensions are as such. And look, they do all the R&D. They do all the research and development. So I'm sure they did that for a reason. But If you do drop it, please beware that that potentially could be a problem. However, the material that they have here on the left side does come up and over the S Pen just very slightly, but I think for the most part this is a protective case. Now let's look at the screen clearance. Let's see if it has any screen protection. This does have a glass screen protector on there, so if you don't have a glass screen protector, you should see a little bit more clearance than what I have. But if you do have a glass screen protector on your phone, it'll be almost identical to what you have, and you can tell 360 degrees all the way around. It does come up just slightly up and over the display, so that's nice because you will be able to lay the phone down on a flat surface and you're not going to have to worry about your display and or your glass screen protector getting scratched and or nicked up. So very nice case. I do like it quite a bit. It feels really good in the hand. Does it stick in your pocket? You know, everybody's had a silicone case where you put it in your front pocket and you go to pull it out and it pulls everything out. It pulls everything else out with it, right? Well, kind of. I mean, it's not as bad as some others that I've used. I think there's some other cases, silicone cases that are like sticky, and that'll pull if you got a couple dollars in your pocket. Or a pin. It'll pull everything out with your phone. This is not too bad. Now, is it a lint magnet? Not so much. I've been using it all day. I mean, there's a couple pieces of lint, but nothing crazy, right? Now, let me pull in the Samsung cases because this one is supposed to be a color match. As you can tell, it's a little bit different shade of blue. This one is more sky blue. This one is more blue. And you have the mint color here. But now, these two are exactly the same. They're just different colors. So let's check this out. Let me show you, and I'm going to put a link down for each one of these in the description box down below. Let me take this off. Let me throw it in here and show you what it looks like in the Samsung Silicone. Now, it takes a little more effort to put it in and to take it out. Now, that's because this is less flexible. This doesn't really want to bend. Now, it is a little weak here and a little weak here, where everywhere else is hard surface, that shell inside. That Samsung uses superior quality materials when constructing their cases, and it's a little tighter fit. So if you like cases that are a tight fit that secure very nicely on your phone, the Samsung Silicone case is where it's at. And check out, oh, you know what? We didn't do camera clearance on this. How could I forget? I had a busy day. Let's see, camera clearance on this Spigen case. So let me move these, and then we'll throw the other one on and check that camera clearance. So camera clearance on the Spigen case. Does it come up and over the camera sensors? Well, looks like it's about flush. Honestly, there might be a hair, literally a hair above these sensors, as you can barely see the outline of this cutout on the other side on this bottom sensor. I mean, it's the slimmest lift up and over that sensor. So technically, I guess it won't make contact with a surface if you lay it down on a flat surface such as a desk and or tabletop. But just keep that in mind. They do put that little lip around there, which does help a little bit. But it's essentially sitting flush. Now, let's throw on the Samsung Silicone case and check this out. Let's go immediately to the sensors and see if it covers, and we'll work back in reverse order. So that's the same thing. Now, honestly, I think this Samsung case, it might sit, it looks pretty freaking close. It might sit a hair taller than the Spigen case, but those are essentially the same distance between the top of the sensor and the top of that cutout, right? Now, you do have more protection with the Samsung Silicone case over the Spigen case because you have smaller cutouts. You have individual cutouts for these sensors. You got two cutouts here, a middle cutout for your flashlight, and then you have one big cutout for your sensors, where here you just have one cutout for everything. So technically this does protect it a little better, but you do have that ring all around it, and I guess that's all personal preference, right? Now let's look at the screen protection. Does this sit up any higher than the Spigen case? Looks about to be the same, right? Looks about to be the same. I'm assuming it's probably the same. Now, what about the S Pen on this Samsung case? Cutouts look good. Cutouts look very good. Of course, you would expect nothing less from a Samsung case, right? Let's look at this S Pen cutout. So it doesn't have a little divot in it. There appears to be the same distance on the front of the phone and the back of the phone where the cutout is for the S Pen. Appears to be the same. There's a little more material around that cutout, which is probably good to protect that S Pen, but you can see the differences. There's a bigger cutout with the Spigen case, but hey, if you have fat fingers like I do, you might want to go with the Spigen case because it might be easier to access that S Pen. If you have smaller fingers, or that's never really concerned you, well, you should be fine with the Samsung case as well. As you can see, the good thing about silicone is it's squishy. So even if they do have a smaller cutout, you can just simply apply a little force and it squishes down and pushes that S Pen in and out with no issues. See? No problem whatsoever. Now, cutouts up top are good. Yep, cutouts up top are good. These buttons, as you can tell, little different style when it comes to buttons. This appears to have the Samsung case on the bottom is one slit here. Now, that's what I was telling you earlier with the shell, or what I was trying to explain, the shell on here. Samsung puts that hard polycarbonate shell on top of these buttons, so it has a smaller slit that's just silicone. Here, it appears you have a much bigger cutout, so it's a little weaker. That's why it's a little easier to bend. When you see that bend right there, you cannot do that with this Samsung case. So the buttons do feel a little more sturdy, a little more foundation here. You see, you can't even really bend this. Well, it did right there, but it doesn't want to bend, right? So you do get a little better button availability with this, usability with this Samsung case. Now, with this Samsung case, there's no microfiber, and with this Samsung case, there is no MagSafe. So that's one big advantage, one huge advantage you have with Spigen, is you get the microfiber feeling, and with this and the MagSafe ring, Samsung, no microfiber and no MagSafe ring. And it feels, it feels like it is kind of a rough plastic feel, polycarbonate feel inside here. Not that that matters, right? How often are you touching the inside of your case? Not that often, but this just gives you that extra, kind of like a suede type of leather feeling. It just looks and feels nice, right, with the Spigen case. But other than that, they should be exact, almost exact dimensions. It appears the Spigen case sits a little higher, but I didn't really see a difference when it comes to the screen protection once installed. It looked like it had right about the same clearance. Maybe I am not reading that right. Maybe this one does have a little more clearance on the screen over the stock Samsung case. But those are the main differences. Now, let me show you how tight of a fit this MagSafe ring is. MagSafe accessory. Nice and tight. Nice and tight. That is a nice, snug fit. Very tight fit. Wouldn't expect anything less from Spigen. That is a one tight fit right there. Now, check this out. So let me throw on this mint green case here for the S25 Ultra. just to give you an idea of what it looks like. I love these cases. These things are so nice. They just feel good in the hand and they protect your phone. So I think you cannot go wrong with either one. Again, you do get MagSafe compatibility with the Spigen, and if you use MagSafe a lot, just go with the Spigen. If you don't, like I do, then I think you can't go wrong with the Samsung case, right? Now, this one does have an NFC tag in here, and if you activate it on the phone, it'll change your wallpaper to the color match this case. I took it off of my phone because, you know, I'm not all into that, but it does have a color match like little NFC tag in here. If you're on the stock wallpaper, it will change it to match the color of the Samsung case. I forgot to mention that, but buttons are easy to push. Let me give you the clicks. Hang on, ready? Here's the power button. That was power. Now volume down. That was volume down. Now let's try volume up. Very clicky. That's what I love about this. Now, what about Spigen? Is it clicky at all? Let's give it a try. Power. Now let's do volume down. And let's do volume up. Very clicky. In fact, more clicky than the Samsung cases. But if you like what you see, check out the links down below. I'll put a link for these. And if you got any questions whatsoever, hit me up in the comments. I check them every day. And as always, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.